Hi everyone. I thought for my second Snail Saturday video, I would give you an overview of an African land snail's diet and what they need, the nutrition that they need to keep them healthy. Now, obviously, I'm only going to give you a small overview and let you know what I feed my snails and give you some ideas of other things you can feed them. There's a wide variety of vegetables and leafy greens that they can eat, wild and ones you'd normally find in your kitchen. So it's best to do your research and if you want to know a more extensive list. But I will give you the ones that I feed mine. Just to save time, otherwise I could be here doing this video for hours, and I don't think anyone's going to watch Rick eat his spinach while I talk about food for like hours. So I've condensed it down and I've just focused on the range of foods that I give mine. So I'm also gonna let you know about foods to avoid as well, because there's quite a list of things that you don't give snails that will either poison them and kill them outright, or can make them quite ill and give them problems with digestion and stuff. So first of all, the majority of their diet needs to be vegetables and leafy greens. They need a constant supply of calcium in their tank. Do be careful with calcium powder though, because if every mouthful of every meal is going to have calcium in it, they can overdose on it. So I prefer to put a cuttle fish bone in the tank. That way the snails take whatever calcium they need and they don't overdose on it. So be careful with calcium, but they do have to have a constant, an available calcium source so they can have it daily. And obviously they'll have it as much as they need. That's not a massive portion of their diet, but they need it for their shell growth, because obviously that's what their shell's going to be made out of, and what they need for their shells. The main part of their diet every day is going to be the vegetables and leafy greens. Then going to need calcium, a constant available source of calcium for them. And then also once a week they need a protein source. Now, contrary to popular belief, snails are not herbivores. Snails in the wild are the cleanup crew, and they will eat decaying meat as well as the vegetation. So they do need a protein source, and I'll go into what you can feed them in a minute about that. You can give them fruit as well, but fruit's more like a treat. So fruit's something I'd only give them once a week. So for my snails personally, what I do, every day they have vegetables and leafy greens, every single day. They have a permanent calcium source in their tank with cuttlefish, which is in their tank every day, and they help themselves. They have it as they want. Once a week I will provide some protein, and once a week I will give them some fruit. And the majority of their diet, like I said, is the fruit and veg. Protein only needs to be a small amount, so it's fine to just do protein once a week. And the protein sources that you can give your African land snails are fish flakes, mealworms, bloodworms, that sort of thing. You could even give them thawed minced beef. Don't give them cooked. They can't have it cooked, apparently. It's just raw. I've not tried that. I'm not brave enough. But for me, what I do for a protein source is I will get some fish food flakes, which I've got plenty of because I've got 2 fish tanks, and I will soak it in a little dish of water. And when it goes all mushy and turns into like a paste, that's when I give it the snails, and they love it. They'll eat it. They really like it. If I don't give them fish food flakes, then I will give them some mealworms. Basically what I'll do is I'll put the leafy greens in the tank and put a couple of mealworms on, depending on the size of the snail. So like Rick will get, I normally put three mealworms in his tank, and then the babies will have about 3 or 4, because they'll share it between them, and the fish food flakes. I don't tend to do fish food flakes and mealworms on the same day. I'll do, if the one week I'm doing, say it's on Friday, one week on the Friday I'll do fish flakes, the next week on the Friday I'll do mealworms. I'll try and mix it up a bit. The majority of their diet that I give mine is broccoli, cabbage, cress, lettuce, although it's got little nutritional value, so it needs to be mixed in with other things. And don't give them iceberg lettuce. There's nothing in it. Iceberg lettuce is just water. Give them the nice crinkly lettuces and stuff. But again, it's low in nutrition, so you need to mix it with other stuff. I do give them cucumber, but I only give them that once a week as a treat because snails adore cucumber. They're obsessed with it. They eat it like I'd eat chocolate. And if you put cucumber in the tank, they will ignore all the food and only eat cucumber because snails love it for some reason. I think it's because of how juicy and moist it is. Now, obviously, cucumber's mostly water, so that's why it's low nutritional value. But I give it my snails once a week because I like to give them that boost of water, really. It's just to make sure they're getting plenty of water on board. You can give them rocket, spinach, pumpkin and sunflower seeds. You can even give them the pumpkin vegetable as well. They can eat cauliflower and the cauliflower leaves. You can give them carrots and their peelings. You can give them... One thing I haven't tried yet, which you can give them, is the Bonio dog biscuits. You just crush it up, mix it with water, make it like a mushy paste. That'd be something you'd only give them once a week, though, and that's to give them like a protein source and just to make sure it's like an all-round, it's got fair few different things in that's good for them. Just make sure that anything you give them hasn't got added salt, and just check the ingredients and make sure it's snail safe. You can get full lists of foods that are not safe for snails online, but I will give you a few pointers. So that's what I feed mine. Some people feed their snails potato, but there's a bit of debate over that because some people have had it where their snails have reacted really funny to it and they get all bloated and weird and don't do very well. Other people have said they give theirs potato and they're fine. I've not risked it personally. I'm not risking it. And I know potatoes are very starchy, and starch is bad for snails, so I tend to avoid that. So things to avoid with your snail are bread and pasta. Don't give them to your snail whatsoever. No benefit to them. It'll just make them ill. Don't give them garlic or onion or citrus fruit. Don't give them like ham or bacon for their protein source because there's far too much salt in that and that'll just kill them. So obviously avoid salt at all costs. So even when you do the fish food flakes, I can't say that fast, make sure there's no added salt or anything to that because they can't have salt, and rice is supposed to be really dangerous for them as well. There are more things on the list that you can't give them, so do your own research to get a wider list of foods to avoid. But the ones I've listed so far, I mean, that gives you an idea of the sort of things you're avoiding. And obviously the vegetables that I've listed that I feed them gives you a good basis for a varied diet. But then obviously you can supplement with more things and different vegetables and give like a wider variety of vegetables and things. But again, it's just a case of doing your research. Go through multiple sources, though. Be careful which sources you follow, especially if you do research on the internet, because we know the internet is fraught with people who will give bad advice. I've done my research, and the foods that I give mine are known to be safe, so that's what I'm sticking with. I will put a list in the description box of good foods and foods to avoid. I'll put a list in the description, save you trying to remember everything I've said in the video. And also one other thing that's important, make sure that your snails have water. I see so many people that say don't put a water dish in your snail tank. Yes, okay, there's a risk of drowning if you put a deep water dish in, but if you get a little water dish and just literally put 1 millimetre or 2 of water in there, you know, like millimetre or so deep, I mean, then they're fine. Basically, if the water is lower than the lip of their shell, it should be fine, because just under the lip of the shell is where the hole is for the opening for their lung, and that's where they breathe their air in. If that goes underwater, then yeah, they will drown. But you have to be careful. So what I do is I've got a dish in my tank, and it's got the tiniest little bit of water in. It means I have to put a little bit in every day because it'll evaporate quick. But I've seen them sit there and drink it. If I can catch them on video, I'll show you them drinking water. It's perfectly safe as long as you don't have the water deep. You just need to tailor the depth of the water to the size of your snail. So obviously Rick can have a slightly deeper amount of water in his tank, and then the babies can only have, like, it's literally a dribble in the bottom of the tank, but they do eat it. Obviously make sure that you spray their food with water. Make sure you spray all the inside surfaces of the tank, because they will lick the water off the inside of the sides of the tank as well. So you can do it that way, and they will get a lot of moisture from their food, but they do like water. And also, if you go on the RSPCA website, they do recommend water for snails as well. So, you know, make sure they've got a water dish. It'll help with the humidity in the tank and keeping the tank nice and moist. But also, like I said, they'll sit there and drink it. So do make sure they have water. I highly recommend a water dish in a snail tank. Obviously, if you've got tiny newborn babies, don't bother, because it's very dangerous for them, because they're going to drown in like the tiniest dot of water, aren't they? So you're best off with them spraying their food with water. Now, with water as well, as I do recommend making sure the chlorine's out of it. So what I do is I fill up my spray bottle the night before, and I leave it open overnight, and then that allows the chlorine to evaporate, because that's why if you leave a glass of water out overnight, it tastes weird in the morning. It's because all the chlorine's evaporated out of it, believe it or not, and obviously other changes that are going on. But the main reason why water tastes weird once it's been left out, like it tastes like it's gone stale, is because the chlorine's evaporated. So make sure I mean, some people use the tap safe stuff that you use for snail tank and for fish tanks to remove the chlorine, but me personally, I just leave the water open overnight, and if it evaporates within 24 hours, so I do it that way. If I wanted some water quick, like say my jug was empty and I'd forgotten, then I needed some, then I would probably use some tap safe, but I've always left some water out. I'm one of them people that will have a glass of water, have a few sips, and I'll leave it overnight. So I've always got water I can use for my snails anyway. So yeah, make sure they have water as well. And then enclosure wise, make sure they've got some sphagnum moss to keep the moisture in the tank. It keeps it lovely and moist, keeps the humidity nice at just the right level. If you can have growing plants, then yeah, you can do that as well, but you'd have to research what you can use. I've always used sphagnum moss. I haven't gone for plants that will actually grow in the tank, so I don't know that part. So yeah, I'm hoping this video has been useful and given you an idea. Like I said, make sure before you give anything to your snails, do your research and check that it's safe. And hopefully you'll have happy snails that grow well. And one thing I forgot as well is make sure you wash everything so it's not got any pesticides on. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.